Hello, my friends. Welcome back. In today's video, we're going to talk about databases in Python. As we said before, when we talk about advanced topics in programming or in Python specifically, we're talking about, different libraries that are available for us to use. And I promise you that I'm going to go over the most practical ones, the ones that are used very widely, and databases are just like one of them. So I'm assuming that you already know how to, you already know what's a database or what's MySQL, and you know how to work with that, and you just want to see how we can do that in Python. But if you have no idea what a database is or like what is MySQL or how to use that, I'm just gonna quickly go over it here. But by no means I mean to, teach you how to use databases in general and teach you about databases. So let's get started. I have already installed MySQL on my system, and it's installed at this location. And this is how I just call it, right? I just go -u, which is user, and like root, which is the root user with the password, and give it the password that I gave it while I was installing it. And you see it says, okay, I'm in MySQL now. So this is like MySQL. We're connected to the database, and we were connected to MySQL, and now we can do whatever we want here. Let's see if we have any databases already installed. If I go show databases, it says that, okay, we have these 4 databases. I haven't really added anything here. So these are the default databases that comes with MySQL, but we want to create our own, right? So we can just go create database, and let's just call that PyExample. And now if I go show databases, yes, here we can see PyExample added to the databases. So what we can do in a database is that we can just treat that like, if you don't know anything about it, you can treat that like an Excel sheet, right? You can have like different types of data, rows and columns of various types, and you can just like save data in there, right? And this is what we want to do here. So what we want to do here is that we want to create a table inside this database. So if I go show tables to see if there is any tables, it says error, no database selected. That makes sense because we didn't select anything. I'm just going to say use PyExample. It says, okay, database changed. Now I'm using PyExample. And if I go show tables now, it says there is nothing in here. All good. So it's an empty database because we just created that. And now we want to create a table in here. Everything is very simple. We can just go create table. Let's call that students, for example. And what goes in there is that the student's name, which is a vector size 10, forgot a comma, and student gender, which is a character, and then the student GPA, which is, well, not an integer, it's a float, and that's it. Okay, so we created a table, and now if I say show tables, it says, okay, in this database that you just called it PyExample, there is a table. It says here, see, tables in PyExample, right? You only have one table, and it's called students. All good. And if I say describe students, it says this is the table that you created. You have name, gender, GPA, the type of the, each of the fields, and so on and so forth. But it's obviously an empty table because we haven't really put anything into the table. So now let's try putting some values inside the table. For that, we can just go insert into. By the way, like this is not case sensitive. I can just go insert into students, right? Actually, if you want to follow the rules and be like a professional database programmer, then you should probably like do this in uppercase, and well, the name of the database is student in lowercase, so that matters. But other than that, like these keywords, you have to, well, you don't really have to, but like it's a good practice that you use uppercase for them. Anyway, so insert into students. What do we want to insert? We want to insert some values. And what are those values? The way we do it here, inside the brackets, we go, okay, what do we need? We need a name, Sam, and the gender, it's a character, it's a male, and GPA, I don't know, 3.4. And then let's have another one, Sarah, for example. And Sarah is a female, and her GPA is 3.7. She's a better student than Sam's, I guess. Uh, and that's about it. It says query OK, 2 rows affected. So we updated the table. We added 2 rows to the table, and to see the table, we can just go select everything. If you're familiar with regex or regex, I don't know, regular expression, whatever you want to pronounce that, star means everything. So we're selecting everything from tables students, right? And if I did that, it says, well, you have 2 students, Sam and Sarah, male and female, with these GPAs. Cool. That's what we generated. And these are the values that we inserted in this table. All good. So this is like a very brief concept of databases on what we can do. Like you can add as many rows as you want, and it's just easy to retrieve the data from databases. But anyway, let's see how we can do that in Python. If you want to do that in Python, it's actually super easy because it's Python. Python is easy. So I'm just going to go from mysql.connector, import, I think it was called connection. I guess we'll see. Connection. So I'm just like calling what I need from this library. I need the connection. You see how I will use that in a second. So the first step we need to do before we actually do that, let me run this, see if it actually works. Okay. Because sometimes you may get an error that Python says, I don't really know this. If you're using it for the first time, then you just need to install that, and we just go pip install MySQL connector, right? That's easy. So the first thing we need to do is that we want to create a connection to the database, right? We want to connect to the database. We just go CNX connection. It's connection. And this connection is what we imported from this library in here, right? The connection. And I'm going to use MySQL connection, right? And so this part is a bit tricky. Well, not tricky, might be a bit confusing, but I will explain in a second. Let me just write it down. Sam, let me go password equals password, and then host is local host, and then database is for example. Okay, so once you install MySQL and you want to access a database from within Python, the problem that I was having, it was complaining about, it was basically saying that I don't have permission to have access to the databases inside the SQL, right? So basically what I did is that I defined the user, I named it Sam, and I gave it a password, and my password is basically password, and I gave it full access to localhost, right? So that I can connect to my databases from Python. That's an easy process to do. If you don't know how to do that, I will put the commands that I ran in the description. So make sure that you follow those in case you got an error. And if you didn't, then good for you. So this is basically me saying that connect to my database by example, right? And And then you can do whatever you want to do here. I'm just gonna go print. Um, I don't know. Can go connected to the database, and then you can like do whatever you want to do here, and then you go CNX that close. You need to close your connection. It's important. And let's see if we can successfully connect and disconnect to the, and yep, okay, all good. We connected to the database. Now that we can connect to the database, we can do something cool here. So we don't really need this anymore in here. So the first thing that I want to do, let's say that now I have my database and I want to add something to my database from Python. You define a cursor. I define a variable named cursor. And the cursor is cnx dot cursor. So we basically define a cursor. And this cursor is pointing to the very end of the file database, and it's waiting for us to insert something in there or do something. You see, like just like the cursor in my VS Code, it's just waiting for me to insert something, to write something. And this is the same concept. So I define a cursor, and I'm just gonna go cursor dot the execute. Okay, execute something for me. And what do we want to execute? This is basically the MySQL command that we just saw in the terminal. So I'm just gonna go insert into students. That's the one that we had, right? Values. Okay, we need the space here. Values, and what are the values that I want to define or add to the table? I just want to add, I don't know, like it was, let me see the, okay, so we need name, gender, and GPA. So we go, name is, I don't know, like Andrew. Gender is male, and its GPA is, I don't know, 3.5, for example. As you see, we have codes inside each other. So like we have nested codes. And so what happens is that Python looks at this first code in here and then sees this, and it says, oh, so you close your code. And then this is treated as a variable. But I don't want to do that. So we use backslash, and that fixes the problem for us. It says that like when you use this before single quote or double quote or whatever, you just are basically telling Python that, hey, I'm not ending anything. I just mean the character single quote, right? That's what it does. So I do this, and so that, and then it's execute, and then you have to go CNX that commit. So that adds the changes. So it make you see the changes in the table. And let's just run this. All good. It worked. Let's see if it actually did anything here. So if I go here and say, select everything from my student. Now, if I run this, I'm expecting to see another row added here. And that's true. That's the one that we added. Andrew comes here, is male with this GPA. All good. This is how you can connect to your database in MySQL database in Python. Really cool here. So let's just quit, and this is really cute. It says bye when you say quit. So yeah, this is how you do this. But before I say goodbye, I just wanted to briefly show you something else. Another popular database is DuckDB, right? It's very popular. People use that. It's like way faster, and it's just like more recent than MySQL. It's basically the same concept, but I thought I would just like briefly go over that as well. So to use that in Python, you just go import DuckDB. If you don't know what DuckDB is just like do a little bit of search. It's a quick Google search, and you will be fascinated by how much you can learn. So import DuckDB. Again, if it was complaining, you just need to go pip install or pip3 install DuckDB. That does it for you. I think I have it installed. Let me run this. Yes, it's not complaining about it. So If I go import DocDB, so it loads the DocDB for me, it's the same concept. So the connection equals DocDB that connect. So I want to connect to database, and I go database equals, because they haven't really defined any databases. Yes, I'm just going to go whatever we have in the memory. That's all good. And then you can just, exactly like what we did for the other one, we can just, for MySQL, we can just go conduct execute, and we can try something, right? We can just go, what do we want to execute? We want to say create table. Basically, you can do the same thing in MySQL as well, right? Create table, just going to give it the same name, students, and it's a name, it's a varchar, and there is an age, which is an integer, for example, and then there is the GPA, slightly different from the other one, and that's a float, right? So this, and then we can go con dot. So we created the table. We can now insert some values into that. It's just like the other one, insert into students. What are we inserting? Values. And so we're going Sam, and I don't know, like he's 10, the GPA is 3.4, for example. And yeah, we can also go, I don't know, like Sarah. And she's, let's say, 12 with a GPA of 3.6 this time. Same thing happens here. So you have to go like this and then go like this so that Python is not confused. So it should create a table and insert the table, the values inside the table, right? Let's just run that. Okay, it runs. And now if I want to see what's inside the table, I can just go table equals com dot execute. We basically want to see what's inside the table. So we can just go select everything from students and dot fetch df, I guess. And so here it may complain about you not having pandas library installed. Just install that the same way as you install DuckDB, pip3 install pandas. If it complains, if you have it already installed, then that's all good. And then I'm just gonna go print table. So I should be able to see like the content of my table, which is like these two rows. And let's see what happens if I run this. It errors out and it says table with name students already exist. Okay, because now we are creating a table again, which is like, it says, oh, I already have a table named students. So what we're gonna do is that, this is a cool thing for you to learn. We can say, try this, right? Try this, right? Try doing this. If it didn't work, except, it means, okay, try executing these two commands in here. And if it didn't work, we can actually say print trying to create a table, right? And inserting values into it. If it cannot do this, it comes here and says, oh, the table students already exist. Then it jumps out of this and it says, okay, I tried, but I couldn't. What do you want me to do now? I'm just gonna go print. I wanna delete the existing table and put the next use and push the values, right? So now what I want to do is that I can delete the table that I created. I just go conduct execute. We just want to go drop table students, right? So we drop the table, and then you can either generate it here or just like put the values in here. I'm just gonna like copy this. Again, this is like not the best way of coding. I'm just like showing you a few things. So what it does is that it says, okay, the table already existed. So you can either be like, oh, it already existed, so I don't really need these two lines. I just push the values in, right? Or you can say, okay, delete that. I want to do it from scratch, right? Delete that, create a table, and then insert the values inside it. And if I run this again, hopefully that fixes the problem. Trying to create a table and inserting values into it, right? And it says, okay, here is the table. And you see row 0 is Sam, age 10, GPA 3.4. And the second row is the second data entry that we have. One cool assignment that I want to ask you guys to do, just like a exercise for you, is that to try to have like a list of names, list of ages, and list of GPAs for, I don't know, like 5 or 6 students, and either in DuckDB or in MySQL, try to have a for loop that goes over all of them and just add them. So you can, because the way that I do it here, I have to write everything down. I have to say insert into students values this. So for each student, I have to do this, right? But I don't want to do that. What I want to do is to say, let's say, have a loop and have these automated inside that loop. Try doing it yourself. I'll let me know how it goes. Thank you for watching us, and don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss the next videos. Take care. Bye-bye. Have a good one.